Hello and good afternoon everyone. I'm still in Barnsley, not far from Monk Bretton, which is a place that I've just been to, and we've arrived at an old colliery. This is it's known as Barnsley Colliery actually, and I'm starting over here because I wanted to show you this. It looks like train tracks, as you can see, but they're way too small. So I'm going to put my foot in there in the middle so you can see, and I'm a regular size 9. So there you go, to show you how wide it is. It's not very wide at all, but the tracks go right the way around to the building that we're going to go and have a look at. It's the pit head sort of that we're going to look at. These are actually the tracks for the pit ponies. They used to have, they used to pull their little carriages around here into this spot, which is called the timber yard. Basically what they'd do in this area is they'd probably stop about here because there's another set of tracks, as you can see there. The pony would come across with possibly an empty one. They'd stop the empty one, bring out a full one from this bit, and these were the timber yards. And the reason for the timber is, as they were going and building the mine shaft, they would take them down to strengthen them so they could dig out the coal. This place was built and started in 1829, and its history is long, and coal is absolutely a major part of the history of most of Yorkshire, certainly southern Yorkshire. There's a reason why, you know, they call northern folk grim and strong and all the rest of it, and it's because they used to work historically in places like this. They could end up working a couple of 100 meters underground in very dark conditions. Sometimes when you hit a vein of coal, they would basically be not much wider than the shoulder, so they're literally working in very confined and enclosed spaces. And they would have the small Shetland ponies that would carry the loads out into the daylight and out and to be processed and to be sold. Barnsley coal is quite famous actually. I remember speaking to a friend of mine who was an ex-miner in, well, it's quite a long time ago now, in the 90s, and he told me that the thing about Barnsley, and the reason why Barnsley coal lasted longer and the coal field lasted longer than Sheffield and other places, was because Barnsley coal had a distinct reputation of being able to burn particularly hot. The coal that was extracted there burnt hotter, so it's quite possibly purer and had less things mixed in with it. It burnt hotter than other places, so it was more sought after. I remember him saying that he brought home some for his uncle who used to buy Sheffield coal, and the chap put the same amount in and stood in front of the fire and inadvertently ended up burning himself because it was comparatively so hot, he just didn't realise. So this bit here that we're coming up to is, you have to excuse me for being a bit shaky, it's windy as well. This is the pit head. So basically they'd go down, this is the bit where they'd go, and they'd go down into the mine shaft and start the work. It's an old place. It's been open and closed a number of times, certainly from the post-World War I period. It finally closed in 1966, this particular one, but this is a classic example of what the coal mines look like. So it's actually what you call a listed building, and you may know from some of my other videos that a listed building is a building that has national significance, and this obviously is particularly significant of our industrial history, because this product that they were taking out here absolutely powered our industry. Coal and steel and wool were the big ones, and coal, of those, coal was absolutely the hardest one. It was the toughest place to work. It had one of the lowest life expectancies, and it had one of the worst conditions bar none. If you worked in a steel mill after working in a mine shaft, you had gone up in the world. You really had, because the coal dust created problems like emphysema in later life. Life expectancy was particularly short in places like this because it was really hard, tough work. Let's have a look. Some of the beams here for pulling the coal out. Obviously it's been graffitied, unfortunately. This happens to places that have been left. And you can't really police that very well, but this is the shaft. I think that's the wheels above. I'm going to try and get further back so you can see these. The wheels above will be the elevator, the lift that took the miners down into the coal seam and the coal face. Now, that's a good view of it actually, look. There we go. You can see that there, the wheel, and the stairs going up, and the housing there for the elevator shaft. So this is where they went down. That's the building there where the workers used to work, or the management or whoever ran this side of it, and then this is the bit here. It has a sad history as well, unfortunately. Whilst it's an amazing example that's still left intact of an 17th, 18th century mine. Well, it's a 19th century, isn't it? The 1829. Unfortunately, it's also the site of the biggest coal mining disaster in England. I think it's known as the Oaks mining disaster. One of the biggest problems you have with mines is gas. You'll get a seepage of carbon monoxide, and you'll get a seepage of methane that comes out of the seam itself. So as you break it open to mine the coal, you're also breaking open these things as well. And to light these places, there wasn't an available electric source as such in 1829, so they were using flame in lanterns, albeit covered lanterns. I know there was a history where if there was gas or carbon monoxide, they used to keep canaries in the mines, and they used to do that just to make sure that they kept the eye on the canary. If the canary died, it was much more susceptible to carbon monoxide poisoning, and if the canary died, they knew that it wasn't safe to be in there, and they'd have to do something to try and air it and flush it out. Unfortunately, there must have been a build-up of methane, because in 1866 there was an explosion, and it was, as I said, the biggest disaster in the UK, and remains the biggest disaster in England, because it killed, unfortunately, took the lives of 361 miners at that time. There was no way they were going to be saved. It was full. It must have been an absolutely full shift of workers, and part way through this had occurred. I'm going to move backwards a little bit to see if I can see the top of the roof over there. So yeah, there we go. That's the roof there, corrugated roof. The top bit will have been the offices in the area where the miners would have got changed and got ready. Downstairs they'll have come down from there, and up here through the wheelhouse, or actually through this terrace, the terrace underneath the wheelhouse, into the building, and the elevator will have been right there, and it had been weighted and counterweighted by the structure at the top. So it's a small site, as you can see, but it's not that long since it's gone, I suppose. I know a lot of mines closed during the 80s with the arrival of the Conservative government in the UK. A lot of the traditional industries disappeared. This one closed before that. It is a small place, and it did use all of the old technology, so you can imagine the pit ponies coming in and out of the place as they were working. So guys, this is a short one. I'm going to leave it here. This is the pit head. We'll leave it on here. I think that's really amazing example of the structure, and it's been kept really well, to be honest. It gives us a good view of what it could have been like. I do know from friends, and I do know from research that coal mining was absolutely the most dangerous thing you could do in terms of work. They were probably the best paid of the working class but oh my god, they worked for it, and the life expectancy was low, and it was an extremely dangerous place, as the disaster shows. But yeah, here it is, part of our history. So guys, if you liked it, I didn't bore you too much, give us a like, let your friends know, and subscribe. And hopefully guys, I will see you on the next one. Bye for now.